Okay, so I want you to picture something. It's a pretty classic
Oh,
image,
I'm picturing it.
like maybe from a children's book you had growing up. An egg, just a giant anthropomorphic egg wearing a suit.
Oh, sitting on a wall.
Exactly,
Oh,
sitting on a very, very high brick wall, Humpty Dumpty.
the one and only.
We all know the rhyme. He sits on the wall, he's a great fall, and then the king's horses and men, well, they can't put him back together.
Right. It's a tragedy, really.
It is, but usually you hear that and you just think, well, don't sit on a wall if you're an egg.
Yeah. Basic physics.
But today, we're actually looking at a stack of research that suggests this isn't just, a cautionary tale for clumsy eggs.
Yeah.
It's actually this perfect metaphor for our entire civilization right now.
It really is. The presentation we're diving into today is titled Me, You, and Us in the World. And it paints this picture of a world that is incredibly sophisticated, but also just terrifyingly fragile.
And we're going to go all over the map today on this deep dive. I mean,
Okay.
looking at these source materials, we've got diagrams of the human brain, photos of World War II.
Cybernetics.
Yeah, cybernetics, AI, and then just to keep things completely wild, a really deep look into ancient Korean mythology.
I know it sounds like a totally random grab bag at first glance.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Like, what do these things have to do with each other?
But there is this very specific thread tying it all together. It's about that egg. It's about what the source calls the golden yolk inside us, which is our biology,
Okay.
and the increasingly unstable wall that we have built to sit on.
So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out, are we about to tip over? And if we do fall, is there any actual way to put the pieces back together?
That is the big question. And to answer it, we really have to start with the egg itself. We have to look at the hardware that you and I are actually working with.
Right, our biology. So I'm looking at this diagram of the brain from the presentation here, and it's split into 3 distinct layers.
Yeah, the triune brain model.
It looks like a scoop of ice cream on a cone, but much messier.
That's actually a great way to visualize it. It's a simplified way of understanding that we don't just have one single brain. We have these 3 evolutionary layers, and they are all working at the exact same time.
And they don't always get along, do they?
No, they definitely do not.
Okay, so let's start at the bottom of the cone, the basement. This label right here says brainstem.
So this is the oldest part of you, the reptilian brain. It runs all those automated systems, right? Your heart rate, breathing, digestion.
Stuff I don't have to think about.
Exactly. But psychologically speaking, it is pure survival. It is fast reflective and totally about kill or be killed.
So this is the part of me that just slams on the brakes when a car cuts me off on the highway.
That is the brainstem doing its job. It is
Yeah.
fast, it is reflexive, and it has absolutely zero nuance.
It doesn't care if I have a good reason for being stressed.
Not at all. It doesn't care about your philosophy or your retirement plan. It only cares about, am I safe? Can I eat that thing? Is that thing going to eat me?
Charming. Just a very simple guy.
Very simple, very effective.
Okay, so moving up a level wrapped around that reptile, we have the limbic system.
Now we are in the mammalian brain. This is where your emotions live.
Okay.
This is the seat of the fight, fawn, or flee response. But unlike the reptile, which is basically a loner, the limbic system is incredibly social.
Oh, so it cares about the group.
Right, it cares about the tribe, it cares about status, connection, validation, all those messy interpersonal things.
So if the brainstem is pure road rage, the limbic system is knowing you weren't invited to a party and feeling that awful pit in your stomach.
Precisely. It is the emotional engine that drives us. And then sitting right on top of all that screaming, crying, fighting biology is the neocortex.
The human part.
The thinking cap. This is the executive center. It plans, it plots, it uses language.
It invents tools.
Yes, it's what allowed us to build cities and write symphonies and record this deep dive today.
Okay, so we have this genius architect living upstairs.
Yes, but, and this is the absolute key to understanding the fragility we're talking about the architect, is sitting on top of a crocodile and a scared monkey.
That is a terrifying image. The architect just trying to work while these animals are losing their minds downstairs.
It really is, because when we are calm and fed and safe, the neocortex is in charge. It runs the show.
Right.
But when we get stressed or scared or overwhelmed, the lower brains completely hijack the system. The architect basically gets tied up in the closet and the crocodile starts driving the bus.
Which explains so much about, well, literally everything happening in the world right now.
Exactly.
But here is where the research gets really interesting to me. It contrasts our 3 brains with the world we actually live in.
Mm-hmm.
There's this section in the source called Grandpa's World.
This is such a vital comparison to make. Look at the photo they provided for that section. What do you see?
Well, it's an old black and white photo. The kids are barefoot. They're out in a field, literally digging in the dirt. It looks messy, but also very grounded.
Grounded is the exact right word.
Yeah.
This represents the reality of mid-20th century. The GI generation and the silent generation, these were people who were born right after the deadliest century in human history. They fought in World War II.
Yeah, they dealt with real physical reality.
Yeah,
Cold hunger, mud steel.
exactly. The threats in their world were tangible. If you
Yeah.
were stressed in Grandpa's world, it was usually because a literal physical threat, a tiger or a tank, was coming at you.
So your fight or flight response was actually calibrated to your physical survival.
Yes, it matched the environment perfectly.
But now we fast forward to the timeline on this chart. We go past the millennials, past Gen Z, all the way to Generation Alpha.
The kids born right around 2013 to the mid-2020s.
Right, the iPad kids. And the environment has just completely flipped. We aren't digging in the mud anymore. We are swimming in data.
This is where we need to introduce a major concept from the material, the cybernetic nest.
Cybernetic nest. It sounds weirdly cozy, but also kind of dystopian. What does that actually mean for us?
Well, think about a bird's nest. It surrounds you, it holds you. The concept here is that we are nested in artificial intelligence.
Mm.
Daniel Schmachtenberger, who is a systems theorist referenced in these notes, puts it this way. We aren't just using tools anymore. We are living inside the tool.
Wait, hold on. Living inside the tool, I mean, I use my phone a lot. I'm going to put it
Am
down.
I not in it? Are you sure about that? Think about how a standard thermostat works in a house. That is a simple cybernetic system.
It measures the temperature, feeds that info back, and then changes the heat.
Right, it's a feedback loop. Now, modern social media and AI platforms are essentially a massive global thermostat, but they aren't measuring room temperature.
What are they measuring?
They are measuring you. They measure your attention, your outrage, your fear, and then they feed information back to you to trigger a very specific response.
So the system is just constantly poking my limbic brain to see what happens.
Constantly. It's poking the monkey to make it scream because a screaming monkey generates engagement.
Wow.
Remember, the neocortex, the rational thinking part, is slow. The limbic system is fast. And these algorithms function at light speed.
So they can trigger your fight or flight response 1,000 times a day before your neocortex even has time to put its pants on.
Exactly. So we have this cybernetic nest that is specifically designed to hijack the crocodile and the monkey while completely suppressing the architect.
And the notes point out that social media isn't actually social, it's a monster.
It's an environment we aren't biologically adapted for.
Which leads to what the material calls a global nation without governance. That phrase really stuck out to me. Without governance. Because, I mean, we have governance, we have laws.
We have laws for the physical world, for Grandpa's world. But in the digital space, this global nation where we all spend most of our waking hours, who is actually in charge?
Yeah, who is?
Is it a set of ethical laws agreed upon by citizens? Or is it an AI tool building other AI tools optimizing purely for clicks?
It's definitely the algorithm.
Right. It's a mob. It's a billion people reacting almost entirely with their brainstems amplified by AI. That is the Tower of Babel mentioned in the research.
Yeah. So we are building a structure so high and so complex that we can no longer even understand each other.
Yes. And that is the wall Humpty Dumpty is currently sitting on.
A wall built of outrage and dopamine loops and just infinite information. And it's really wobbling right now.
It is extremely fragile.
Okay, this is getting a little bleak. We've got a primitive brain trapped in a high-tech cage that's essentially poking it with a stick all day. How do we not go completely crazy?
This is where the research takes that fascinating detour you mentioned earlier.
Into ancient Korean mythology.
Yes, into myth and culture.
I have to admit, when I first saw this slide, I was like, wait, what? We were just talking about AI and cybernetics. What does a tiger in a cave have to do with this?
I know, it seems like a leap.
But looking at it now with the context of the three brains, I think I see the connection. It's about software updates, right?
That is a brilliant way to put it. Yes, if our biology, the three brains, is the hardware, then culture is the software we install to keep that hardware from overheating and crashing. The research points to 3 specific figures from Korean history and mythology to explain exactly how this cultural software works.
Let's walk through them because they're really interesting.
Yeah.
First up, we have Dangun.
Yeah.
And the core story here involves a bear and a tiger.
It does. It's the foundation myth of Korea. The source labels Dangun as golden divine. So the myth goes that a tiger and a bear both pray to become human.
Right.
The son of the Lord of Heaven hears them and says, okay, here's the deal. Go into this cave, stay there for 100 days, no sunlight, and you
Yep.
can only eat garlic and mugwort.
That sounds like literally the worst detox retreat ever invented.
It is brutal. It's sensory deprivation combined with a starvation diet. Now think about the biology we just discussed. The tiger represents that fast, reflective brainstem.
The crocodile.
Right. It wants action. It wants meat. It wants to hunt and move.
So the tiger in the cave is basically me trying to sit through a slow movie without checking my phone.
The tiger is exactly that. The tiger gets incredibly restless. It cannot handle the boredom. It can't handle the lack of constant stimulation.
So what happens?
After a few days, the tiger just gives up. It runs out of the cave. It fails to become human.
It stays an animal reacting to its environment.
Right. But the
Yeah.
bear endures. The bear sits in the darkness, eats the bitter garlic, and just waits. The bear has patience.
And the bear succeeds.
Yes. The bear eventually becomes a woman who gives birth to Dangun, the founder of Korea. The lesson here is so profound for our modern situation. To be human, to be gold, you have to defeat the base animal impulse.
You have to suppress the tiger, the brainstem, and embrace the endurance of the bear, which represents the neocortex.
Precisely.
That is actually incredibly relevant today because we are all sitting in that cave right now. And the smartphone is the tiger's impulse calling to us. Just one look, just one scroll.
And every single time you resist the urge to scroll and instead focus your attention on something deep and slow, you are reenacting the myth of Dangun. You are choosing to be human.
I really love that way of framing it. Okay, so Dangun gives us the foundation of endurance. Who is the next figure in the notes?
Next is Jumong. You see the image of the archer on the horse in the presentation.
Yeah, he looks like a classic action hero.
He is. Jumong is the founder hero archetype. He represents the self breaking away to create something entirely new.
Yeah.
If Dangun is about internal endurance and patience, Jumong is about external action. It's about having the courage to leave the comfort of the known world and actively build a new kingdom.
So applying this to our fragile world problem,
Yeah.
Dangun helps us sit still and not get hijacked, but Jumong helps us actually do something about the state of the world.
Exactly. You absolutely need both. You need the patience to think clearly, but you also need the agency to act. You can't just be a passive observer in the cybernetic nest.
Makes total sense. And then we have the third figure mentioned, King Sejong. The slide calls him bronze and organized.
Yes, Sejong is the great systematizer. Unlike the other two, he's a highly documented historical figure from the 15th century.
What does he do?
Well, before him, Koreans used traditional Chinese characters for writing, which were incredibly complex and difficult to learn.
Which meant literacy was probably only for the very wealthy elite, right?
Exactly. The average person couldn't read or write. They were essentially voiceless in the system. So King Sejong invented Hangul, which is the Korean alphabet.
And it's famous for being very logical, right?
It is scientifically designed to be exceptionally easy to learn. He literally engineered a system to upgrade the collective intelligence of his entire population.
He gave them code.
He gave them code, he took the absolute chaos of spoken sound and organized it into a bronze, enduring structure. He represents the neocortex operating at its absolute highest level.
Creating systems that help everyone think better and communicate clearly.
Yes.
So putting this whole mythological software package together, we need the patience of the bear to resist the constant distraction. We need the courage of the archer to take real action. And we need the structure of the king to organize our chaotic world.
That is the cultural software that stabilizes the egg on the wall. Without these stories, without these archetypes to guide our behavior, we are just monkeys with nuclear weapons and smartphones.
Which brings us right back to the danger zone, the Tower of Babel. The research connects this tower concept directly to our current tech moment.
It does. If you remember the original Tower of Babel story, it's about humanity reaching for the heavens, trying to become gods through their technology.
And failing because they lose the ability to speak the same language.
Right. The structure collapses because of a breakdown in communication.
It's so ironic. We have more communication tools right now than at any point in human history. But it really feels like we understand each other less and less every day.
Because the communication is happening inside that cybernetic nest we talked about. It's happening in the kill or be killed arena of the brainstem.
We aren't exchanging ideas, we're just exchanging signals of tribal loyalty and outrage.
Exactly.
There's a really heavy question posed in the notes here, attributed to Bishop Barron. He simply asks, what are we?
That is the ultimate question of this entire deep dive. What are we? Are we just kill or be killed organisms?
Because if we are, then the tower we are building will definitely collapse.
A system built by tigers for tigers will eventually eat itself.
And if that happens, Humpty Dumpty falls.
And remember the end of the rhyme. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
You know, that part always bothered me as a kid. I was like, why couldn't they fix him? They're the king's men. They have all the resources.
Well, because you cannot fix a complex organic system with external force.
Right.
You can glue a broken ceramic cup back together, but you cannot glue a broken ecosystem. You can't glue a broken psyche. The king's men, meaning the government, the tech companies, the police, they cannot fix this if we shatter.
That is just terrifyingly clear. If we break there, there is no global tech support hotline we can call to reboot civilization.
No, the resilience has to come from the inside, from the yolk.
So the obvious question is, how do we thicken the shell? How do we protect the yolk before it falls? The material actually ends with a section focused entirely on the self in the system.
Yes, it has this diagram of concentric circles mapping out a curriculum for stabilizing the self.
I'm looking at the list of things in this curriculum right now, and it is almost laughable how simple it is compared to the AI cybernetics we've been discussing.
It really contrasts with the high-tech problems, doesn't it?
It says puzzles, blocks, food, books, songs, journals, words. I mean, I was reading this expecting it to say nap time at the end.
It sounds like a kindergarten curriculum for sure. But think about why those specific things are there. Why journals and words?
Well, based on what we said earlier about the brainstem, I guess journaling forces you to slow down.
Yes, you cannot write a thoughtful journal entry with your brainstem.
Right, it takes focus.
Writing is fundamentally a neocortex activity.
Yeah.
It forces you to take a jumble of raw, panicked emotion and structure it into linear, logical sentences. It is literally practicing being human.
Oh, it's the bear in the cave again. Sitting with your thoughts and organizing them instead of just running away to scroll on Instagram.
Exactly. And puzzles and blocks, these are physical, tactile activities. They ground you in physical reality, just like Grandpa's world.
They pull you out of the abstract anxiety of the internet.
Yes, they put you back in a room with gravity and friction and things you can actually touch.
There is a contrasting image on this slide that is actually kind of spooky. Next to this giant tree labeled stability, there is a ghost and a skull and crossbones.
Yeah, the ghost represents the disembodied self.
What does that mean exactly?
That's what happens when you spend too much time living inside the machine. You become a ghost in the system. Just a data point drifting, reacting, totally hollowed out.
And the skull.
The skull is the death of the self. It is the tiger finally winning. It's the total fragmentation of the mind where you can no longer focus, you can no longer connect deeply, and you are just pure reaction.
That's the system failure.
That is the egg shattering on the ground.
So the choice presented here is pretty stark. We can either ground ourselves with these basic human activities, building our internal stability like the tree, or we can let the cybernetic current sweep us away and turn us into ghosts.
That's it. We are living on a tipping point. The technology is pushing our boundaries faster than our biology can naturally handle.
And we can't just stop the tech. We can't tear down the Tower of Babel now because it's already built.
No, we can't uninvent the modern world, so we have to learn how to balance on the wall.
We have to strengthen the egg. We have to cultivate that golden yolk, our neocortex, our culture, our deep humanity, so that even when the wall wobbles, we don't crack under the pressure.
You know, I think that's the core message.
I started this deep dive thinking we were basically just going to talk about how smartphones are bad for our attention span, but this feels so much bigger.
It's existential.
It really feels like a
It's-
call to arms, or I guess a call to pens.
A call to pens is a great way to say it. A call to patience. It's realizing that your human attention is the absolute most valuable resource you possess.
Yeah.
And every single time you actively reclaim it from the algorithm, you are doing something genuinely revolutionary.
You are being the bear.
You are being the bear. You're being
Yeah.
King Sejong. You are acting as the architect of your own brain.
Oh, I am definitely going to look at my physical notebook a lot differently tonight. And probably my phone, too.
As well you should. We all should.
This has been a lot to process, but in the best possible way. For everyone listening right now, here's a final thought for you to mull over. The notes asked a really tough question near the end. How do we roll back?
It's a daunting question.
It is. Because maybe we can't roll back the whole world. The AI is here, the global nation is here. But maybe we can roll back our own personal engagement with it.
Right. If the shell does eventually crack, the only thing that matters is what the yolk has transformed into.
Exactly. Are we ready to be something new, or do we just splatter? So try it out today. Step out of the current, even if it's just for an hour. Be the bear in the cave for a bit. See if you can survive the garlic and mugwort.
Or at the very least, see if you can survive an hour without checking your notifications.
Your neocortex will definitely thank you. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. Don't fall off the wall.
Take care, everyone.
See you next time.